I'd like now to invite Maria Sätherström from the Ideon Science Park in Sweden. She is head of marketing there and is going to tell us about her innovative strategies for communication.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for a very interesting conference so far. I'm representing the Ideon Science Park in Sweden. Actually, one of the first in the world. We were number 25, and we've been working with science and innovation for almost 29 years now, helping 800 companies to grow. The place where GSM technology and also the Bluetooth technology was made world standard. But that's the most I'm going to say about Ideon Science Park, because I was asked to talk about innovation communication, and that's a subject also very close to my heart. How innovative is innovation communication then? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've been thinking for that quite a while now. I start to define our definition of innovation. A creative process for something new that the market are willing to pay for. That's very different from science. Still, it has to collaborate with science. I think that's the main focus of innovation. But are willing to pay for, remember that, that's the key sentence. So what is then innovative communication? And is innovative communication good? I think that it's about the way to communicate. And is it then good to communicate in an innovative way? Yeah, that depends. Of course, all of us have seen examples of fantastic innovative communication, where it strengthens and enforces the message, when it's right on the target group, when you really can feel it and understand what it's all about. Unfortunately, I've also seen very many bad examples of innovative communications, where the communication itself is more important than what you are trying to say. So the message are hidden behind the communication. One poor example is reporting EU projects. I hear from organizations around us that more and more are demanded to report their projects in a very innovative way. And that takes so much resources from the project and from the result that they want to go out with. They are asked to make innovative parties, movies, and so on, instead of that doesn't contribute to the project and the result that they want to do. I think that's bad innovative communication. Another interesting example is last summer, a Swedish feminist, very well-known politician called Gudrun Schyman. She would want to state the point of the difference between salaries between men and women in Sweden. Yes, there are still. She used a communication bureau called Studio Total. They called themselves Advertising Nouveau. And they helped her to state this message by actually and literally burning up money. She barbecued, bill by bill, fired them up, destroyed the money. 10,000 euros. That's approximately how much a campaign like that costs. So, from that point of view, it wasn't a catastrophe. But the headlines afterwards wasn't at all about the difference in salaries, but about destroying money. Is that ethically? Is it okay to do that just to have headlines? So I think it was a genius way to get headlines, yes, and the bureau, they gained very much from it. But her message wasn't pointed out very well. So that was a bad example of innovative communication. Communicating innovations then, what's that? Does it differ from other kinds of communication? No, it's the same way. Good innovation communications, I think, is the same thing as good other communication. And that's, you know very much about, all of you. But then, yes, there is some difference because innovators doesn't really think the way as we communicators do. And I've been working for 10 years with innovators and helping them to communicate. And yeah, some conclusions have come out from this. Some common difficulties from the innovators when we ask them to go out public or talk to investors or talk to media, to customers, even better. And the first answer we almost always get is, I don't want to. Not yet, I'm not finished. Have to develop a little bit more, please. And now I'm talking about the startup companies for the first half years. So we're telling them, if you don't ask, if you don't talk to people, how are you knowing that you are developing the right thing? How do you know that anyone wants to pay for what you do? How do you know that anyone wants to invest if you are that kind of company that needs investment for a couple of years before you get out to the market? Next difficulty is the ones doesn't think that much. They just go out and do it. And it could be anyway, it could be really good, but most of the time it's not that good. Preparations is the key. You know that too. But yeah, it's all. Oh, okay, interesting. Also the thing about having done too much preparation and waiting for the right moment, and the right moment doesn't appear. And you can wait and you can wait. Yes, the market could be immature, so you have to wait for good timing. But you could also wait and wait and wait, it doesn't find it. We've all seen some examples of bad timings, and some are worse than others. You know the feeling when you have sent something out, with the same second feeling that, oh no, 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 I want to withdraw it. A mail or a letter or anything. I think that the person working with this campaign, having sent that brochure out to very many people, the day before the terrible disaster of Costa Concordia in Italy, had that feeling of, no, 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 I want it back. And that was bad timing, not possible to plan for. So, that's also the case. You can't plan for everything. Another common difficulty is that the inventor or the entrepreneur is in love with the technique and wants to talk about the technique and the details in the technique. For people that would like to hear the very general, overall, what problem does it solve? How is it important to me? What can it do to me? And we train them a lot in find the right angle there. Also, not to make it too complicated. That's also very easy. Oh, I've been working with this for 4 years. It's my research. It can't be said simply. Yes, it can. It always can, but it's hard. It can also be the case that the person actually lacks credibility when going to banks, to investors, to media. Why should we listen to you? Do you think this is... And then you can borrow credibilities from well-known people, from researchers with high credibility, but also actually from well-known brands, such as science parks, incubators, and so on. Okay, this was problems and some way to think about it. Strategies to meet it then. Yes, that's the boring part. You need to educate. You need to be aware, and you also need to train. If you're an innovator and you're extremely good expert in your technique, you also need to be good at communication and some other things. So we're actually, in the incubator program, are we training them? Both on performance. How do you say it? In what channel do you say it? In what way? But also the message. Is that the correct message? Speaking to media, speaking to financiers and so on. And that's so effective. Seeing after a couple of weeks the difference, it's fantastic. And the results is also fantastic. But we are also asked for shortcuts, training, education. Sounds boring, it takes a long time. I want to be good now. What can you do? Yeah, you can ask the more experienced innovators around you. What are their mistakes? Don't do it again. Their experience. Who's to talk to, what not to do. Could be a shortcut for some of them. The contact to media is also very important while communicating innovations. And that's not always easy. One problem we see very often is the lack of understanding of the process. What's a journalist there for? What's media there for? That's for critical reviewing, actually, not for handing out your message. They can choose their angle of what they want to write. That's scary. If you're a scientist used to write your article, have it reviewed by your research friends, and then published as if you wrote it, in a scientific journal. Of course, meeting a journalist that wants to pick her angle and write exactly what she wants to is very scary. It's also confusing with the increasing amount of advertorials. And it's not always easy to understand, is this an article written by a journalist because of the news angle, or is it a paid-for advertisement that they have actually controlled every word in? So, we're discussing this a lot. I also think that it's a lack of innovation journalists. I think that journalists could do better. They need education. Think about it. When you read a newspaper, when you see news on TV, you have experts in sports, you have experts in culture, you have definitely experts in politics, often former stars or person that had retired. How many innovators, entrepreneurs do you know have become expert commentators, column writers? It's not that many. And that's a problem for this sector. So the journalists need to know more about it. Many journalists look for the simple story. How can I write it? How can I find the easy one? It turned out when the explanation of the innovation is too complicated, that the story isn't about the innovation, but about the innovator's age, background, gender even. That's the easy story. And that's a pity, because that's not at all as interesting most of the time. But it isn't easy. It isn't easy for us that work with them. How to tell what innovator is a genius and who is a maniac? You don't know. You need to know more about the phase. The entrepreneur could be a person that has been thinking and found out that that was the very good thing, and then showed it to the market immediately. But, sorry, the job is after the invention and to get it to the market. That's the tough thing. That's boring to write about. We need to educate. How could that story be interesting? The journalist needs to know that too. So, strategies for that. We actually have some educations for innovation journalism in many countries. US is the best ones I have understood. And our governments are collaborating with Stanford, for example. I think that's really good, and I hope that will be used in many other countries as well. We also encourage networking. That's not very easy, but it's more and more popular. And it turned out to be very informative for both the innovators and the journalists. To wrap this up, I think it's better with poor innovation in combination with good communication, that is understandable, than the other way around. I'm sorry to say, because I love good innovations, but if nobody understands what you're doing, it doesn't matter how good it is. Thank you very much.